In this episode 470, you will discover how to create your own emergency toolkit for emotional resilience so that you can maintain calm and balance in the face of life's unexpected challenges. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery, the podcast that helps intelligent, busy professionals develop self-mastery and discover their calling, so you can thrive in a fulfilling, purposeful life. I'm your host, Agi Keramidas. By listening to this episode, you are going to discover how to develop a personalized emergency toolkit to quickly regain your calm during unexpected situations, when life throws things at us. How do we remain calm? I believe you will find the topic and the actions that you can take as a result of listening very useful, very valuable. Before we get started, I have a quick favor to ask. If you like this podcast, can you think of someone else you know who might find it useful and share it with them? Not only will this help the podcast grow, but you will also be adding value to people you care about. Thank you. Now let's get started. Today it is my real pleasure to speak with Arlene Cohen-Miller. Arlene, you are a dedicated work-life balance coach and also an attorney and a certified meditation facilitator. You are dedicated to empowering people to release what holds them back, and you are passionate about helping women achieve work-life harmony and more joy, balance, and fulfillment in their lives. Arlene, I'm delighted to have you on the podcast today. Welcome.
And I am delighted to be here. Thank you.
There are quite a few things actually that I'm looking forward to exploring with you today. One of them being what you talk about, creating an emergency toolkit for maintaining inner peace when things happen that destabilizes, and I think that is very useful, and I'm looking forward to go into that. Before we go there, I would like to hear a bit about your in particular from your story, the transition from law to coaching. So how did that begin? What inspired that shift?
It was over a period of time. I just had this inspiration when I was about 15 that I wanted to be an attorney. No one in my family had been an attorney before. They really didn't take me seriously for quite a while, but my parents really supported me. And so I did go to law school. And I've owned two law firms. One is a solo practitioner in the Midwest in the United States, and one is a partner in a small boutique law firm in Colorado, where I now live. And so I've been a family lawyer for divorce and dissolution and child custody, and I've been appointed by the court to represent kids, which was really tough as a young woman. And I switched over after about 12 years of that because I really didn't have the skills and tools that I have now to deal with that kind of conflict and turbulence in people's lives. That wasn't how I was raised, and I didn't really know how to energetically protect myself and to maintain myself as a person without getting mowed over by what everyone was going through. And so after that, I became a commercial attorney, and we helped businesses to collect their debts. So we were dealing with a lot of businesses that were in distress to get them to pay our clients. And I just got about 3 years before we sold the second business, I just got inspired that I wanted to become a coach. So I got a diploma in coaching and mentoring, and I got a diploma in transformational holistic counseling. I became certified as a meditation facilitator. And my initial goal was I was doing a lot of negotiation. I was doing a lot of communicating. I was marketing for the law firm. And I just felt, okay, this is going to help me be a better parent, a better employer, a better marketer, just do everything that I do much better. And it did. It really did. And I loved it. But I had been an attorney for so long, and there's a lot of stress with the law. And coaching was just, you have a lot more freedom. You're helping people, you're helping them to transform their lives, but you get a lot more freedom if you go somewhere, you're never away from it. You always have things that are going on because it just never goes away with your clients and stuff like that. And coaching is, you're helping people, but you can schedule it as well. And I was just ready for a change. I love helping people. I love being of service. But I've been an attorney for many, many years. I'm a grandmother, and I just was like, I need a change, and I made one.
There are different kinds of service, indeed.
Yeah.
Arlene, you mentioned the meditation, and since you are a meditation facilitator, tell us one of the main things that you've gained as Arlene from practicing and teaching, but practicing in particular meditation all these years.
Yeah. Well, as an attorney, I've started off as a really left brain, very thinking, anxious, hyper person. And I didn't know anyone that meditated. If I was going to go out in nature, I was like running as fast as I possibly could to get rid of that energy. And I had one of my clients became one of my dear friends, and she taught and facilitated meditation. And she was an astrologer, but she was also like a metaphysical teacher. And she said, Arlene, and both her and her partner meditated. She said, you've got to try this. Let me teach you some skills. And it really changed my life. Just the breath work, even, that kind of walking meditation, just getting out in nature and connecting with Mother Nature, breathing, appreciating the beauty around us, because at first I couldn't sit still. And I just found that even practicing those simple tools was transforming me as a person, was affecting the people in my life, and I could calm down and do my job, beginning as an attorney and as a mother and as having a life partner. And everything's so much better because I wasn't like this little toy all wound up and not knowing how to bring myself back down. And so I'm forever grateful to this friend. And at first I'm like, there's no way I can do this. But she said, look, just start with some simple breath work. Just start with going outside. I know you love nature. Instead of going for a power walk or a run, just take some time, take 10 minutes at the beginning, walk slowly, really breathe and appreciate the planet. Love her and she will love you back. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's crazy. But the more I played with it, the more I went, oh my gosh, I really, really, really feel different. And so that's how I began to get into it. And people noticed. They're like, you're really different. You're not so hyper and wound up. What are you doing? And I would share it with them. And so eventually I became like a certified meditation facilitator, to have that credential and to go more deeply into that path. I found a woman that, she started meditating, maybe in her late teens, and she had spent years studying it. And she helped me with the course I took to become much better at it.
I will actually ask you with what you just said right now, the very, very last words, because I would like some kind of how you define getting better at it. Meditation, I mean.
Well, it wasn't like it became something that became more natural for me. And I learned, I think that we teach what we mostly need to learn oftentimes. And by learning different skills and abilities of how I could facilitate meditation for other people and being inspired because I was seeing actual results in them, I was basically teaching myself to be a better meditator. And to relax and release and let go and say goodbye to a lot of that stress. It's not that it never happens again, but I feel like that as we teach what we most need to learn, which it just is part of that emergency toolkit that you wanted me to share with you, we change and we grow and we evolve. And I feel like it actually grounds a lot more into who we are, so that it just becomes not something that we're doing, something that becomes a part of our beingness because we're practicing it, we're teaching it, and it helps us to really make it more of a reality for us so that we can help to facilitate it for other people.
Thank you. Yes, it certainly, the word that comes to mind is permeates that calmness or that groundness that you can get from meditation. It can permeate your day or your actions, and people might notice, as you said, that now you mentioned the emergency toolkit, and actually that brings me nicely as a transition to that, because as we all very well know, it is very different to gain this groundness and calmness when you are either in nature, as you were saying, enjoying a walk and being present, and or on your meditation cushion having a nice 30-minute session or whatever it is that you do. However, and I did say that yes, it permeates the day. However, there can be situations in our life, and we've all been through that something unexpected happens, something that sweeps us out of our feet. Someone makes a negative comment. We hear some terrible news about a friend or whatever else might be, that for that time it takes that calmness, that groundness. It kind of, you do not utilize that calmness, that groundness, and it is easy to get into a reaction, a very emotional reaction, and go perhaps into a spiral of emotion or actions. I mean, we've all been through that, and I believe most people know what I'm talking about. So what I find interesting about this concept that you said about the toolkit is how to actually, when you do get into that sudden negative situation, whatever that might be, how to maintain your, let's say, composure and your equanimity, because I think that is really what the toolbox is about, to be able to, at that point, remain equanimous and not go deep into whatever happened. So please give me your introduction about all this concept and how you teach it, and then it would be great to hear some of the actual tools so that our listeners, the mastery seeker, can implement that the next time that something like this happens. And I know this has
Right.
been a very long question.
No, that's all right. It's a beautiful introduction to it. And I really appreciate it, because when I first heard about having an emergency toolkit, I guess I was like, what does that mean? I don't get it. But what happens? You're right. Well, something will happen. We'll get thrown off our center. We'll get triggered. We'll have a reaction, and we'll go from love to fear. And so one of the things that I've learned through these years with my spiritual journey is that practice makes permanent. So if we have an emergency toolkit in place that we can turn to when we have these kind of moments, when we get this text, when something happens, I don't know, there's a snowstorm out there and I don't know if I can get out of my driveway to go to the grocery store, whatever it is that's going to set us off, if we have something in place, simple tools that we can practice that can bring us back to that centered, loving space. And we've been practicing them when we're calm, when we're in that space of love, and when we're really expanded out and we're our best selves, then what can happen is that when we're triggered and all these things happen, we have something right away that we can practice and do and bring it back, because practice makes permanent. And we've been working with that, so that when these moments happen, we don't fall into that deep, dark hole of fear or doubt and disbelief and anxiety and overwhelm. We have something to pull ourselves out. So we maybe have a little moment of anxiety and what do I do now? And then we can practice these steps that we've been using all along when we feel good. And we don't have to constantly, take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. So some of the things that I put in my emergency toolkit, and I believe that the best way to do this is to keep it really, really simple, because we're going to be in reaction. We're going to be, oh my God, what happened to my calm thing? So the first thing in my emergency toolkit is breath work. And breath work is so simple, because if I breathe in through my nose and I breathe out through my nose, and my out breath is longer than my in breath, that will take me out of fight or flight response. And I can do this anywhere. Someone can be talking and screaming and jumping up and down. We all have to breathe. We don't even have to make any noise with this. You just simply breathing in, breathing out longer through the nose, just while whatever's happening. And that will help to bring us back to that calmer place. And a second step that I like to do is I like to really feel into something that I'm grateful for. We all have something, that really will make us smile. It could be music. It could be something we've done. It could be a person in our life. And I'm like breathing in gratitude to my heart chakra. And when I breathe out with my nose, I'm just letting go of any stress in my bodies and feels. I'm letting go of what doesn't work for me. I'm still working with the breath work, but I'm breathing and I'm working more also with like that sacred quality and that ability just to let go. And so that is because for my emergency toolkit, I recommend that people have 3 things. You don't want to make it complicated that I have to do 10 things to calm down. You pick the top 3 things for you, and what might work for you is not going to work for me. So it's really, I'm not going to be there saying you have to do this for your emergency toolkit. I give people suggestions, and then they can maybe come up with things for themselves. Some people have come up with music that they can sing to themselves. It doesn't really matter. It just helps to bring you back to center. For me, the second thing in my toolkit is to be really grounded and fully present. And so I like to tell people what I do is I pretend that I'm a tree, and I feel this beautiful column of white light from my heart chakra down my body, down my legs, out my feet. And these beautiful roots of light, these huge roots of light, go straight into the heart of the planet. So my heart is heart connected with Gaia, the beautiful being that embodies planet Earth. We're her children. She loves us unconditionally. There's no conditions on her love. I heart connect with her. I feel her gratitude, her acceptance, her love for me because I'm serving as that channel between heaven and earth so that I can let go of stuff and I can gift it to her as usable energy for her, like working with the universal violet flame. And so I can feel that connection with her and I go, oh, I can feel that love. I can now feel the love in my heart. And when we're fully present, it's really hard to be anxious because if we're focusing on the past, we might be remorseful. We're not fully here. If we're focusing on the future, that's when we go into anxiety, or maybe we're just not in our bodies because we're thinking about this vacation. But when we're fully present right here now and grounded, really solid in our bodies, it's like we're right there. And it's really hard to push us over. And so that breath work and that grounding and connecting as I ground into Gaia's heart, I find that that's really transformational for me. And the third thing that I do is I flood myself with the universal violet flame. The universal violet flame is the 7th ray of source. It transmutes and transforms fear into love. And so I visualize like I'm in this column of like the violet flame is pouring through my bodies and fields. It's pouring into Gaia's heart. And I'm just going to let go of anything that doesn't serve me. And if I let go of fear into the violet flame, it's going to be transmuted and transformed into love as usable energy for the planet. I just gift it to her. And so I'm being of service in that moment. She can certainly use our love because all the judgment on this planet is like heavy weights on her shoulder. In addition to, doing things like, all the oil we take out, which is her bile. So it's not easy to have these human beings on her planet for her. And so those are 3 things in my emergency toolkit. I mean, there's other things I could give you that people do. Some people like to cut energetic cords that aren't about love. So they'll just visualize that there's this column of light coming down, any energetic connections from any person, place, or thing that are not about love. We're cutting those. We're healing where those were with golden healing light so that anything that I'm connected with, because I'm all of a sudden in anxiety, if I go to anxiety because it's a blizzard out there and I'm worried that I'm going to slip and slide if I need to go to the grocery store, I can all of a sudden connect in with everyone in this area who's afraid to drive in this weather. And so that compounds me. And if I cut those cords, they're not there anymore, so those are like, I told you my top 3, and then there's that other one with cutting and those energetic connections. There's more things I could share with you that people could select, but I just find that I love to practice my emergency toolkit, like I said, when I feel, and then it just naturally happens if someone presses my button or I look outside and go, oh my God, it's a blizzard out there, which it is.
If you enjoy this episode, can you think of one person that would find it useful and share it with them? I'd really appreciate it, and you will also be adding value to people you care about. And now, let's get back to the episode. Thank you. This is very useful, and I appreciate very much the simplicity of those tools. Breathwork and focusing on the breath, or exhaling for longer than the inhalation, or uh, breathe, as you said, think of something we're grateful for and breathe the gratitude through our heart chakra, or you mentioned the being grounded or feeling the like a tree, with the feet going into earth. I All these are wonderful, very simple, very practical. That element of visualization you were saying about the violet flame, also, I think it is something you can add while you are, grounding and slowing down your breath. For me, what was the most important out of all that in the foundation is what you said in the beginning about practice makes permanent, and to practice all those things when we're calm. Because, and I realized that in the way that I was asking you the question, it was more focused on, so what do you do at that time when, you know, but unfortunately, if you have not prepared, when that time comes, you will go into the fear response, and whatever it probably would not be the equanimous situation that we were talking about. So I appreciate very much this answer and the practicing it on a daily basis, or when we're calm, as you said. Um, is there anything else, Arlene, you would know, without going into more tools, but with those that you said, is there anything else about this whole practice you would like to share with a listener, maybe so that they can help them to, let's say, establish the habit of practicing it
Yeah.
from tomorrow morning?
Yeah. So I guess the one thing I want to share with people, well, there's two things. First of all, if we're learning something new, we're going to make mistakes. So instead of beating ourselves up, let's say that we practice these tools and then we have something that presses our buttons and we don't do it perfectly. We still have that anxiety. We're not. So what I would share with you is mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow. They're not something to beat ourselves up with. So if we make a mistake and we don't really feel and apply this, 100% perfectly,
Yes.
what we can do is step back and go, okay, what happened here? What can I learn from this experience? How can I do it differently next time? And then maybe visualize and feel the next time this happens, what will that look like? What will that feel like? So we're not going to do this perfectly the first time. It's not like magic fairy dust comes down and we practice this a few times and we've got it. And even if we practice it for years, there could be a moment that it's such a big trigger that it takes us a while to get back to that harmonious center. But we can learn from all those mistakes. A lot of the learning on this planet is negative learning. And that's okay. That's just the way it is here. And so what we can do is learn from that, visualize it, really feel it, and pat ourselves on the back. Good job. You made this mistake an opportunity to learn and grow. I really feel and visualize how I can do this differently. We can apply this everywhere in our life. And so when this happens again, I have this tool and I can do it. I'll do it better next time. That'll be more like me next time.
That's great. Also, that's very important to, and I can also speak with personal experience that it is a process. It is, you used the word practice earlier, and I don't think that's a coincidence. It is practicing, and practicing implies that it is a journey, it is ongoing, and without a specific destination. That's how I look at it now that you say it, that it's not like that you will arrive, or maybe you will, but probably not arrive to that stage that this will all not be Anyway, what I was trying to say is irrelevant, so I will leave it out.
And you know what? There's so much out there now that people are so impatient, like with how fast things happen on the internet.
Yes,
they expect magic fairy dust. They do things once and it's perfect. Otherwise, you have to quit it. And I'm like, no, that's not what my generation and started with. And it just sets people up for horrible failure to expect. They have expectations of yourself, which is judgment, that if I don't get it right away, that there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with the way that it's taught. I mean, it applies to every area of our life. When I was younger, I ran like some half marathons and 10Ks. And if I had just started and I'd only walked around the block a few times and then ran it, you think I could have done that? Especially in Colorado, where I'm up at altitude. That took a lot of practice in order to be able to do those things. And so you have to have the mindset that practice makes permanent, and that there's no such thing as magic fairy dust. If I want to make these changes in my life so that I feel different when these triggers happen, we have to be, that's the other point I wanted to make. We need to be kind and patient and tolerant with ourselves as we're learning these new skills and abilities. Because it's not like we already know them unless our parents taught them, as we were growing up, especially if we're learning as an adult, it's going to take some time for it to really sink in and be a part of who we are. So kindness, patience, and tolerance are key. Because when we're impatient, it pushes away from us what we want to manifest. If we're not kind, we're beating ourselves up and telling ourselves how bad we are when we're choosing to learn something new. And that tolerance is it's a beautiful trinity: kindness, patience, and tolerance. For me, it's like a triangle: kindness, patience, and tolerance. And it comes together to really create something in our lives that can really settle in our systems if we just give ourselves a break and don't expect things to happen immediately.
So, Arlene, so much condensed wisdom in these sentences you said the last few minutes. Was taking notes, but I will share a couple from my own point of view that resonated. One was what you said about impatience, that it pushes away actually what you want to manifest, because it is indeed, when you think about it, it is the opposite frequency. Rather than appreciating what you have achieved, you are impatient about the other bit that you haven't achieved yet. So that was one thing. And of course, what you said about the tolerance and the patience, the kindness, that's also, I think, very something for one to ponder on and realize what this trinity, as you said, all together mean to them, and how it perhaps expresses itself in their life. This is wonderful, Arlene. Thank you. This has been a really insightful conversation. So I thank you very much. I do have some final questions, quick questions, and before I wrap up, before we go there, where do you want to direct the listener who has enjoyed this conversation and wants to connect with you and find out more?
Right. Well, if you're in the US or Canada, you can always text me. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me at 720-936-2634. My website is Jewel, like the diamond, JEWEL consultancy.com. And there's a blog. There's lots of videos. There's some videos on there on how to be calm and how to have certain leadership skills. Those are all free. And whatever I offer in there with the coaching and mentoring, I also do soul readings. And so that's all there for you. If you do an internet search with Arlene Cohen Miller, my name's right up there, I see, you'll find me. There's a lot of Arlene Millers. There's no Arlene Cohen Millers I've ever found. So if you look me up, you'll find LinkedIn and all the different Instagram, all the places, on the internet that I'm there. So thank you for asking me about that. And I look forward to anyone who wants to connect with me.
Definitely. Thank you. And Arlene, two final quick questions. And the first one is, what does personal development mean to you?
Personal development, I don't know. I guess I use personal development is just choosing to take one step forward at a time and whatever interests us to like raise our vibration and be more of our highest, clearest, brightest self so that we can be of service to the planet. I mean, my goal is I'm always asking myself, what would love do now? How may I best serve? And if I'm developing myself personally, which for me is more spiritual as well, and I'm taking those one steps forward at a time and taking courses or interacting with people or connecting with like-minded people in groups, then I'm going to be learning and evolving and growing and being able to be of greater service. And that's just what makes my heart sing.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And a hypothetical question. If you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give her?
Oh, man, skip all the party years, skip all the hormonal stuff of chasing after men, listen to your heart. I think one thing that I didn't do when I was there, I had graduated from college and I had this really strong intuition to take like a year, travel through Europe, wait some tables, do anything. And I think that would have been a really great experience. So I would have told my 18-year-old self, follow your heart. I know your parents are going to have a hissy fit. They will adjust and give yourself that gift. And then, you've already gotten into law school. You can defer it for a year. That's what I would have told my 18-year-old self. She didn't have the courage back then, but now we can give it to her.
It reminds me of my 18-year-old self. So that's great advice. I want to thank you very much for this, as I said, insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it. I believe there were many things for someone to pick from what resonated within them. I want to wish you all the very best with continuing your mission as you are. I will leave it to you for your parting words or some actionable wisdom for the listener. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, since I've already shared about kindness, patience, and tolerance, I will share a quote that I love to live my life by. I think it's from Winston Churchill, but I'm not sure. And it's any disaster can become a blessing. Any blessing can become a disaster, but there's always a better way. So even if we have a horrible disaster in our life, someone we love dies, there's always some way we can turn it into a blessing. Maybe it's a foundation or something that we create in the world that would honor what they brought to the planet. Mm-hmm. And the disaster to a blessing is just like, be mindful, be grateful for what you have. Don't squander away what you have. You've heard people that have won the lottery and then it's gone within a year. There's ways that if we're focusing on negativity, if we're focusing on judgment and expectations, all the beautiful things we have in our life that can go down the drain. And there's always a better way is that we're always evolving and growing, hopefully. So something that really works for me today, if I revisit it in a year and I'm more expanded and bigger heart open, there's going to be a different way that it's going to come into my heart that I can share with other people. It's going to feel different. So that's just one way of affirming that we can always be evolving and growing. And just because something was a certain way 2 years ago, we can revisit it and it's going to be a whole different way that's even better in the future.
I hope you found this episode enlightening. If you want to continue the journey further, join us in our free community Mastery Seekers Tribe. It is a space to move from inspiration to implementation, from knowledge to action. If you're not already a member, you are invited. Go to masteryseekerstribe.com. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,